Imagine waking up one day and realizing you're the most misunderstood genius on earth, with more money than small countries, a Grammy shelf heavier than your ego, and somehow everyone still thinks you're the villain in your own documentary. Welcome to the strange, chaotic, ego-shaped roller coaster of being Kanye West, where every tweet can cause a global incident, and your therapist might need a therapist. Being Kanye West is like being handed the keys to a spaceship, then immediately getting blamed when it crashes into a Starbucks. Let's rewind. Once upon a time in sweet suburban Chicago, there was a young kid with a jaw wired shut and a dream louder than any mic he would later drop. Kanye wasn't born famous. He earned his way in by producing beats so good they made grown men cry in the studio. But the industry said, "Great, now stay in your lane, beat boy." Naturally, Kanye did what any humble genius would do. He bulldozed the lane, redesigned the road, and charged admission. When he finally dropped The College Dropout, it was like someone snuck philosophy into a hip-hop album. People didn't know whether to dance, think, or enroll in community college. But fame is a funny thing. At first, it's all red carpets and flashing lights. And suddenly, people start asking why you're wearing ski goggles at brunch. Kanye's rise wasn't just fast, it was intergalactic. One minute, he's interrupting his own acceptance speeches to thank himself. And the next, he's interrupting Taylor Swift to thank Beyoncé. Because if you're Kanye, every moment is the right moment for a revolution or a televised ego detonation. But underneath all the fashion shows, designer masks, and public outbursts, there's something else. A man desperately trying to prove he's more than a headline, more than a meme. Kanye has always been chasing something artistic truth, divine inspiration, or maybe just a Wi-Fi signal strong enough for his next Twitter rant. And whether you love him, hate him, or still haven't forgiven him for those leather jogging pants, one thing's for sure. Being Kanye West looks glamorous, until you realize how exhausting it is to constantly perform at the center of a cultural earthquake. Here's where the story twists harder than Kanye's Twitter password. The conflict of being Kanye West isn't just about fame, it's about being trapped in a body powered by ego, haunted by genius, and mic'd up 24/7. Let's talk meltdowns, shall we? Because if Kanye's life were a movie, the genre would be part drama, part sci-fi, part press conference gone terribly wrong. One moment, he's on stage declaring George Bush doesn't care about black people live, unscripted, and in the middle of a charity telethon. That wasn't just a viral moment. It was Kanye planting his flag on planet I say what I want. Of course, America blinked, coughed, and said, "Excuse me?" But he wasn't done. There was the VMAs, the now legendary Taylor Swift mic grab a moment. So iconic, it's still echoing through pop culture like a ghost with a grudge. To Kanye, he was standing up for art. To the rest of us, it looked like the Oscars took an espresso shot of chaos. And then the presidential run. Yes, that actually happened. Kanye ran for president in the year the world least needed another plot twist. His campaign rally was part political speech, part therapy session, and part Broadway monologue. He cried, he ranted, he wore a bulletproof vest like it was Coachella. People weren't sure if they were supposed to vote or stage an intervention. Let's not forget the fashion world. Kanye, in true Kanye mode, declared himself the Steve Jobs of clothing. He launched Yeezy, creating sneakers so expensive they doubled as mortgage down payments. He dressed models in what looked like post-apocalyptic potato sacks and called it visionary. And somehow, it worked until it didn't. Business partners came and went like background dancers in a disappearing act. Adidas said yes, then maybe, then please stop tweeting. But none of that compares to his biggest frenemy. Kanye versus Kanye. Public rants about family, mental health battles played out in full HD, and beefs with everyone from Jay-Z to Pete Davidson to, quite possibly, Gravity. His interviews started to sound like plot summaries for conspiracy thrillers. One minute, he's talking about God. The next, about contracts being modern-day slavery. Then about building a Christian tech utopia. What makes it tragic and hilarious in a dark Shakespearean kind of way is that he's often not wrong, just very Kanye about it. He called out racism in the music industry. He exposed how fame chews people up, but he did it all in ways that make you ask, was that performance art? Or just a Tuesday for Ye? Every time Kanye seemed to climb out of the wreckage of his own doing, he'd light another fire just to see who'd watch. Not because he loves chaos, though, arguably, he has it on speed dial, but because being Kanye means being unable to sit still. He's a man in a room full of mirrors, giving TED Talks to himself, while the world watches through binoculars and popcorn. It sucks to be Kanye, not because he fails, but because every success comes wrapped in a new kind of breakdown. Now comes the part where everything gets louder, stranger, and somehow even more Kanye. The climax of being Kanye West isn't just about scandal. It's about transformation, rebirth, and sometimes wearing a full black morph suit to a public event like a sentient Sharpie marker. After surviving more controversy than most celebrities would in 3 lifetimes, Kanye decided it was time to level up or melt down, depending on your angle. He legally changed his name to Ye. Just Ye. Like Prince, but with less purple and more paranoia. And then came Donda, an album rollout that wasn't so much a launch as a series of mysterious rituals held in stadiums with Kanye living inside them like a musically inclined crypt keeper. He wore spiked jackets, floated into the air, and brought out Marilyn Manson during a listening party, because apparently the line between art and public therapy had completely dissolved. But behind the theatrics was a man unraveling in plain sight. His marriage to Kim Kardashian, a union of ego and influence so powerful it could have generated its own Wi-Fi, collapsed. Kanye didn't just lose a partner. He lost the only person legally obligated to nod along during his 6-hour rants about architecture. His attempts to win her back ranged from tragic to TikTok-level cringe, including buying the house across the street and making music videos where he decapitates cartoon versions of Pete Davidson. Subtle? Not exactly. Entertaining? Regrettably, yes. His grip on reality seemed to loosen further as he began saying things that made even his most loyal fans ask, "Ye, are you okay?" Then came the final boss fight of cancel culture. His anti-Semitic rants, interviews that felt more like hostage videos, and partnerships going up in flames. Balenciaga ghosted him. Adidas said goodbye. Banks said, "Please take your billions somewhere else." And suddenly, Kanye was no longer the misunderstood genius. He was the headline, the cautionary tale, the guy you reference when explaining why you muted someone on social media. But even then, even as the empire cracked, Kanye refused to back down. He rapped about his exile, claimed victimhood, and doubled down harder than a conspiracy theorist with a whiteboard. He wasn't trying to fix his image, he was redefining it. In Kanye's world, there is no such thing as rock bottom, just another underground level waiting to be discovered. This is the paradox. At his peak, Kanye was untouchable, the kind of artist who could sell you silence and call it a masterpiece. But at his lowest, he became a mirror to the madness of modern celebrity. He blurred the lines between performance and personality until no one, not even Kanye himself, could tell the difference. Is he trolling the world, crying for help? Delivering divine prophecy? Or just vibing in a simulation only he understands? In the end, the climax of Kanye West's story isn't a moment. It's a never-ending crescendo, one that loops and resets every time he opens his mouth, drops a track, or posts a meme that makes your soul sigh. And somehow, despite everything, you keep watching, because deep down, a small, chaotic part of you whispers, "What's he gonna do next?" So where does this opera of ego, talent, and total unpredictability go from here? The resolution, if you can call it that, is less about peace and more about exhaustion. Kanye hasn't disappeared. He never does. He just mutates. One day, he's teasing a new album recorded in a monastery with monks who only speak in sub-bass. The next, he's launching a school with no books, no desks, and a strict Yeezy-only dress code. You think he's gone quiet, then bam, he resurfaces wearing chainmail at a pancake house. What sucks about being Kanye West isn't just the scandals or the press or the cancellations. It's being forever stuck in a role that never allows for stillness. He's not allowed to just be a man with thoughts. He has to be Kanye with capital letters and fireworks. Every step he takes is watched, judged, memed. Every sentence he says gets clipped, remixed, turned into TikToks, conspiracy threads, and possibly church sermons. And maybe, just maybe, that's the cruel irony. He built the pedestal. He climbed it. He shouted from the top that he's a god. And now that he's alone up there, everyone below is either laughing, booing, or asking for refunds. So, what have we learned from this chaotic, brilliant, cringeworthy opera in sneakers known as Kanye West? That being a genius doesn't protect you from yourself. That fame is a drug with a really annoying PR team. That the line between art and outburst is paper thin when your entire life is broadcast in Ultra HD. Kanye's story is funny until it's sad, inspiring until it's infuriating, and always, always worth watching. Because no matter how many times he falls, flames out, or says something that makes your brain reboot, a part of you still believes he might do something extraordinary. Again, not because he's right, but because he's Kanye. And that comes with a heavy crown, made entirely of contradictions, glitter, and probably unpaid Yeezy interns. If you made it this far without rage quitting, congratulations, you're now emotionally invested in the beautiful disaster that is Kanye West. So go ahead, smash that subscribe button like Kanye smashes expectations, reality, and occasionally his own career. Drop a comment below telling us your favorite Kanye moment or your weirdest one. And remember, watching Kanye's life unfold is free. Therapy afterward? Not so much.